Hey guys, Wordy Nerd here, back with another video. Today we'll be looking at, again, the amazing FLL robot, Pluto. In this video, we will look at some of the things that I didn't cover in the last video, such as size and capabilities, why I chose this design, and many other things. I hope you enjoy. As you can tell, this robot fits very easily within the home base of the FLL City Shaper Challenge. But in past years, this has not always been the home base. So let's see what it looks like there. As you can see, the robot also fits very easily in the home base of the past year's missions. The sizing of the robot is important to make sure it can fit in small gaps, go through tight wedges, and to fit in base easily. As you can see, this robot design is shaped like a box. As FLL veterans might know, this is a fairly classic design that is seen a lot in competition. The reason why I chose this design is because it tends to make things a little more compact, and you can square it up against walls, making for very accurate launches off of the base. As you can see, this year I chose to use black gears instead of dog gears for my attachment functions. That is because after my 2 years of FLL experience with dog gears, I realized that they only have so many points of contact, 4 to be exact. That way, if you put on an attachment and it's not in exactly 4 different places, then it won't work and you will have to spin your attachment manually in order to get it to fit snugly on the robot. With these gears, there are so many teeth that you won't have to worry about that happening, and the teeth are so thin that if it goes wrong, it will probably just slide in. For more advanced teams, this is very helpful to save up to 5 seconds in base, but if you're a beginning team, I would recommend using dog gears still. Watch my last video to see how to use dog gears with this robot. It is a very simple change. As you can see, there's just as much going on inside the walls of the robot as outside. A change from last year is that last year, my motors were mounted the other way, but that made my wheels in the middle, so it couldn't climb the obstacle missions that occur almost every year in FLL. This year, I decided to mount them the opposite way. This means, however, that you will have to use negative power when programming to make the robot move forward, and positive power to make it move backward. I also put 2 color sensors in the front for line squaring and line following, for the many black lines that appear in FLL. These beams act as a support and a natural light blocker. That way, the light coming out from the color sensor readings will be more accurate. I only have 1 caster wheel in the front as opposed to the 3 caster wheels on the robot last season, which makes it much more lightweight and able to climb more obstacles. On the side of the robot, I have put this piece here to support the axles. That way it doesn't bend and the robot is more accurate. There is no correct way to wire this robot, but there are many ways to make the wires tight and fitting well. I have made many points of contact, such as these 2 beams here, the beams here, and the spool here, to make it easier for you to wire things. The spool here is mainly used to wrap the wires around. The points here and the beams are used to keep the wires down from touching the surface of the mat. And same goes for the beams here. Wiring is very important because if it's not wired correctly, it will not be able to go up obstacles and will likely cause friction on the bottom of the mat and the wheels. One technique used on this robot is what I like to call cross beaming or cross support. I see many teams going around, and their robot only has supports one way or another. That way, if you pull on one side of the robot, it'll easily come apart. With this robot, however, that is not the case. I connect it at points such as here and here with one direction, and then I connect it with here and here in another direction. That way, you cannot just pull apart on the robot and expect it to come off. This is very good for sturdy robots and also gives you points in the FLL competition when the judges ask, is your robot sturdy, or can it survive the tensions of FLL? As you can see, I made cutouts for my wire and the board in 2 different areas. This is because when you're changing your batteries, you don't want to have to put your fingers in real deep in order to get those wires out. So I decided to make it simple and make 2 cutouts so you can wire easily. And if you're plugging it in using the USB port, don't worry. I also cut out this part, that way you can plug it in easily without having to jam it in. Another form of support I use on this robot is putting axles through beams. People underestimate the power of axles, and they can truly be a great way to support your robot without having to go through the techniques and hardships of beams. If this wasn't an axle, I would have to spend forever trying to get the beam in between this piece and this piece. But since this is an axle, I can simply slide it through here and put stoppers on either end. And it supports just as well as a beam, as well as being easier to take off once you take apart your robot or you need to get something on the inside. As you can see, on this robot, my caster wheel is a ball and caster piece. I use this because it is small, it's easy to integrate, and it allows your robots to move in all directions smoothly. This piece is not very expensive, and if your team can afford it, I would recommend going online and buying one for your team if they don't have one on your robot. Other caster wheels only allow your robot to move in 2 directions smoothly, or they take up way too much space. But this caster wheel is small, so it's very space efficient, and it allows your robot to move in all directions. Basically, the perfect caster wheel. The reason I think this is an amazing FLL robot is because it is good for both FLL veterans and beginners to the FLL competition. In addition to that, it also uses many techniques that help it in competition. If you see any flaws with this robot, feel free to let me know in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Make sure to check out my website, which has a link in the description. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like and subscribe.